I need to show you something. Right now. Because something just happened that nobody in automotive YouTube predicted. Not the rebuild community. Not the right to repair advocates. Not the millions of people who have been following every single update of the most insane hypercar rebuild ever attempted in a regular garage with salvage title parts and standard tools. Nobody saw this coming. A box arrived from Sweden, and inside that box was something that has shifted the entire balance of power in this story permanently. But before I show you what was inside, before I tell you the 6 words that just made every hypercar manufacturer on Earth look at their PR strategy and start sweating, I need to take you somewhere. Picture a factory floor, but not the kind of factory floor you are imagining. Not rows of identical parts moving down conveyor belts toward identical cars coming off an assembly line at industrial scale. Something completely different. Gothenburg, Sweden, a building where 35 cars per year get built. 35, not 35,000, not 3,500, 35 cars. Total, for the entire world, for the entire year. Ferrari builds 14,000. Lamborghini builds over 10,000. Bugatti builds 40 to 50 Chirons. Porsche builds over 300,000 vehicles. Koenigsegg builds 35. And Christian von Koenigsegg walks that floor personally. Not from a glass office above the production line. Not through quarterly reports and management briefings. He walks it the way he has walked it since he was 22 years old with no engineering degree, no automotive industry experience, no manufacturer backing, and one idea that everyone around him called impossible. Build the fastest production car in the world. He did not treat impossible as a reason to stop. He treated it as an engineering problem he had not solved yet. 30 years later, his company has eliminated the camshaft entirely. Built a single-speed transmission that works across the complete speed range of a hypercar. Solved problems that manufacturers with 10,000 times his resources looked at and walked away from. He walks that floor. He sees every car being built. He knows every decision that leaves that factory, which means he knew about the box. Every package Koenigsegg sends is deliberate. When you build 35 cars per year, nothing is accidental. Nothing is a PR intern pressing send on a gifting list. Nothing goes out without the person who built this company from nothing at 22 years old knowing it is going out and knowing exactly why. The box was prepared. Premium hoodies. Limited edition merchandise. The kind of apparel Koenigsegg typically reserves for the people who spend $3 million on one of their cars. Matt Armstrong has never spent $3 million on a Koenigsegg. Has never owned one. Has never rebuilt one. Has never turned a single wrench on a Swedish hypercar in his life. And yet a box was addressed to him. Packed carefully. And sent from Gothenburg, Sweden, across the Atlantic to a workshop in the UK where the most watched automotive rebuild in YouTube history is happening without manufacturer support, without proprietary tools, without the blessing of a single hypercar brand whose cars have passed through those workshop doors. Inside the box along with the merchandise was a note. 6 words. Watch our engineering videos, please. Stop right there, because I need you to understand what those 6 words actually are before we go any further. Not a sponsorship offer. Not a brand deal. Not please mention us in your next video, or here is what we need you to say or attach the following disclaimer to any content featuring our products. 6 words. Watch our engineering videos, please. No legal terms. No conditions. No strings visible or invisible. Just an invitation to learn how Koenigsegg thinks about their cars. Now here is why those 6 words are the most significant thing any manufacturer has sent Matt Armstrong, and why every other brand should be reading them very carefully right now. Matt has rebuilt Lamborghinis, multiple Murcielagos, an SVJ, hours of documentation, millions of viewers getting more genuine access to understanding how Lamborghini engineering works than any official Lamborghini content has ever provided. Lamborghini never sent a note. Matt has rebuilt Ferraris, a 296 GTB, months of fighting Ferrari software locks, the BCM, an $18,000 battery, a $30,000 diagnostic tool that only their dealers can access. Documentation that Ferrari's own customers wish existed before they needed it. Ferrari never sent a note. Matt is rebuilding a Bugatti. Started a W16 engine without manufacturer involvement. Found their airbags in Audi A3 parts catalogs. Found their radiator cores in Honda Civic parts lists. Found their starter motor in Volkswagen diesel specifications. Split the car in a regular garage using bin wheels when Bugatti CEO had publicly stated the procedure required factory equipment and factory conditions. Bugatti locked the VIN, made a video, sent the CEO, And Koenigsegg, the brand Matt has never touched, never rebuilt, never turned a wrench on, sent a box from Sweden. Let that sit for a second. The brands that benefited most directly from his documentation gave him nothing. The brand he has never worked on sent recognition, respect, and 6 words that contain more genuine openness than every official statement Bugatti has made about independent repair combined. Now here is the question nobody is asking. Why now? Koenigsegg has been watching Matt Armstrong for years. They could have sent that package when he rebuilt the first Murcielago, when he started the W16, when the Halford's fuse fixed the Veyron gearbox, and automotive YouTube lost its collective mind. They sent it after the Bugatti CEO made his video, after the VIN got locked, after the story stopped being about one crash siren in a UK workshop and became a story about who gets to decide what you can do with something you own. That story reached people who have never watched a car rebuild in their lives. People who do not know what a W16 is. People who found it through news coverage, social media shares. The sheer human interest of watching a manufacturer try to prevent an owner from fixing their own property. Hundreds of millions of views. And in every single one of those views, a new person learning what Matt Armstrong does and how he does it. Koenigsegg watched that happen and made a decision. They decided in a very deliberate and very calculated way to be the manufacturer associated with the opposite of the Bugatti story. Not through a press release, not through a campaign, through a box of hoodies and 6 words to the person at the center of the most watched automotive story in years. Watch our engineering videos, please. Those 6 words sent at that exact moment cost Koenigsegg the price of some merchandise. What they bought was the permanent association between their brand and the concept of openness. Respect for independent builders. The idea that mechanical knowledge is something to be shared rather than locked behind proprietary systems and software walls and VIN lockouts designed to protect parts monopolies rather than owners. In the same moment that Bugatti represents everything wrong with manufacturer gatekeeping, Koenigsegg positioned themselves as everything right. 35 cars per year, 0 advertising budget, 1 box from Sweden. Now I need to tell you about Christian von Koenigsegg himself, because the package makes complete sense when you understand who sent it. He founded the company in 1994. He was 22 years old, no engineering degree, no automotive industry experience, no manufacturer backing, no safety net of any kind. Just an idea and the specific stubbornness of someone who treats impossibility as an engineering problem rather than a conversation ender. The Koenigsegg free valve engine eliminates the camshaft entirely. Every valve controlled individually by electronic actuators. Nobody had made this work at production level. Every manufacturer with resources Koenigsegg could not dream of had looked at the concept and walked away. Christian decided walking away was not the right answer. The Koenigsegg direct drive gearbox, a single-speed transmission that works across the complete speed range of a hypercar. Conventional wisdom across the entire automotive industry said you needed multiple gears. Always had, always would. Christian decided conventional wisdom was wrong. Now, think about Matt Armstrong. No formal engineering qualification. Built his knowledge entirely by doing, by showing up, by treating every impossible repair as an engineering problem rather than a reason to stop. A man who looked at a Bugatti chassis split that Bugatti's own CEO said required factory equipment, factory conditions, and factory expertise, and solved it with bin wheels. Christian von Koenigsegg looked at that bin wheel solution and saw something he recognized immediately. Not because it was clever, because the thinking behind it was familiar. When you have spent 30 years proving that impossibility is just a problem you have not solved yet, you recognize the same approach in someone else instantly. The package was not corporate outreach. It was one engineer acknowledging another. Now here is the part of this story that the entire automotive community is sitting with right now. Is a Koenigsegg coming to Matt's workshop? Honestly, the note said, watch our engineering videos, please. You do not send someone a note telling them to learn your engineering unless you are considering a scenario where that engineering knowledge becomes relevant. Koenigsegg builds 35 cars per year. Those cars exist in private collections around the world. Some of them will crash. Some already have. The independent service network for Koenigsegg is more developed than most people realize, because at 35 cars per year, you physically cannot support a global dealership network the way Ferrari or Lamborghini can. An independent builder who understands Koenigsegg engineering, who documents every single step of every project in front of millions of subscribers, who cross-references every part number, records every torque specification, documents every problem found and every solution discovered permanently on YouTube, where every future owner who needs it can find it. That is exactly the kind of person Koenigsegg needs to have a relationship with. Not because they need the YouTube views, because the documentation Matt produces is the most detailed independent service record any manufacturer's cars have ever had. That is worth more to a 35 car per year manufacturer than any official service manual they could produce internally. And here is why Bugatti should be genuinely worried about this. When a crashed Koenigsegg arrives at Matt's workshop, if it arrives, the story will not be Bugatti versus Matt Armstrong. It will be Koenigsegg working with Matt Armstrong. The contrast will be permanent, documented, watched by the same audience that watched every single Bugatti refusal, every VIN lockout, every carefully worded CEO statement about the impossibility of independent repair. And every manufacturer that chose the Bugatti approach will be measured against the Koenigsegg approach for as long as YouTube exists. Here is what I want you to take away from all of this. Matt did not chase Koenigsegg, did not apply, did not pitch, did not send emails asking for recognition or collaboration or acknowledgement that what he is doing deserves respect. He just kept doing what he was doing, honestly, in the present tense, with genuine uncertainty about the outcome documented in real time in front of millions of people. And a manufacturer in Sweden noticed. A manufacturer that builds 35 cars per year and makes every single decision deliberately and intentionally and with the full knowledge of the person who started the company at 22 years old with nothing but an idea and a refusal to accept that impossible meant stop. The brands that benefited most from his work gave him nothing. The brand he never touched sent a box from Sweden and 6 words that contained more respect than any of them managed in years of watching him work. Watch our engineering videos, please. That is not a gift. That is an introduction. And when Christian von Koenigsegg makes an introduction deliberately, it leads somewhere. The Bugatti chapter is not finished. The temperature test is coming. Bob is on his way. 40 liters of coolant, 10 radiators, 1 temperature gauge that nobody on Earth can predict. And now, sitting alongside all of that is a box from Sweden and 6 words from a manufacturer who builds 35 cars per year and has never once treated impossibility as anything other than a problem waiting for the right solution. The most famous rebuild ever attempted is about to enter its most critical phase. And for the first time in this entire story, Matt Armstrong is not doing it entirely alone. If you think what is happening in that workshop right now is the most compelling thing in automotive YouTube, subscribe. If you think a Koenigsegg arrives at those workshop doors before this is over, subscribe and drop your prediction in the comments. And if you think I'm wrong about all of this, subscribe anyway. Because when that temperature gauge reads for the first time, and whatever Christian von Koenigsegg started with 6 words from Sweden takes its next step, you do not want to be the person who hears about it somewhere else. You want to be here, watching it happen, the way this whole story has happened. Honestly, in real time, with no guaranteed outcome, and absolutely no signs of stopping.